Greetings, Earthlings! You know, I always say, oh, I'm so excited. Anyway, I have a million thoughts. But you know how I always say, greetings, Earthlings? Well, and human beings and, Nephilim. What are they, Jake? Nephilim, Anunnaki, whoever's here, animals especially.
All life forms.
All life forms. Yes. All conscious beings. Thank you. I'm so excited today because you know how I love to talk to geniuses. But I was going to say, if the beings from other planets who are smarter than us, who are probably on equal level to animals. I love animals. They're smarter than us because they don't have to bullshit themselves to feel joy in life. But if the beings from other planets who are equal to animals landed here and said, take us to your leader, they would come here to Alex Jones Studio where I am speaking to our leader today. Welcome to the Roseanne Barr Podcast. In Alex Jones Studio.
Oh, you see.
Wow, well, it's your studio right now. I got to tell you,
I didn't say it. I got to introduce you.
Oh, yeah.
I've never been given such a good introduction.
Oh, good. Well, you are beyond a genius. Oh, my guest today is Alex Jones, our leader, our fierce and great leader. You led us out. Alex, hi, Alex.
Roseanne, it is great to see you. I loved you being on my show today. You are on fire.
You know why I was on fire? Because you gave me some of this...
Ultramethylene blue.
Yeah.
We don't sponsor them.
I don't sponsor them, but I want to sponsor them.
Well, you're welcome to go out and you can get your own great USP and sell it and help people because it's Robert F. Kennedy Jr. loves it. It cleans out your mitochondria. We've got the strongest there is.
I mean, it really I really got focused, which, Jake always keeps me on focus.
Only took it, 30 minutes to kick in, too?
Yeah. And I just feel so good, Jake. You've got to keep me on focus.
I'm on it, too.
Because there's a million. Yeah, he took some, too.
It's kicking in right now.
So you felt it?
I'm feeling it right now.
Because we want to be so focused because we have waited so long to speak with you, have you on our podcast. You were the number one person we always wanted on our podcast because I love you so much. You are a Moses-like character, in my opinion. You led us out of bondage, out of the mind bondage of media. You broke every single rule. Everybody who began to see that there was a conspiracy against the minds of the thinkers of America was awakened by you. And first of all, I just want to say thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for being on my podcast, too. I have so many things.
I've been trying to get on for a while. We just always, the planets never align, but here we are.
No, but here we are.
Thanks for coming on my show so many times.
Yeah, well, the planets have definitely aligned, and I'm very grateful.
I'm very here.
Well, that's so cool. I'm trying to think of where I want to go first.
Well, there's so much. You made a great point on my show today that we could elaborate on about because things take so much time.
Yeah. And
people are living in instant gratification. That's how they manipulate and control us because people don't see things in the continuum.
Yeah. They've managed to separate cause and effect, using the media so people don't see the effect of the cause. They've separated those two things so far apart with the fairy tale they spin all the time and the narrative they put out on the media to keep us lulled into compliance, right? And then here you came, and I want to ask you, what made you do it? What made you go, I'm going to get on there and sell some truth to the American people?
I mean, I was a jock, a Chad, but I also grew up where my mom's got a degree in history and my dad was really smart, read a lot of books. And so I just grew up, like cartoons back then, as you know, were only on Saturday and a little bit. And by the time I got home from football practice and stuff, I never got to watch cartoons in the afternoons. I never really was into cartoons and stuff. But I started, like comic books and stuff. By the time I was a really good reader, I was about 9 or so, I started reading some of the history books that were around the house. And I showed an interest, so my dad got me encyclopedias about the Wild Wild West, about World War II, about a lot of stuff, illustrated encyclopedias. Mm-hmm. And so I read all those and just got into history. And so I think my love of history is what gave me a knowledge of what was happening at the time, because they've said those that don't know history are doomed to repeat it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly right. Me too. I got those encyclopedias myself, and I couldn't tear my I couldn't get my nose out of them. I loved history.
It's amazing.
And how it always does repeat, right? Doesn't
Absolutely.
it? And doesn't it always repeat because people's minds are captured?
Absolutely. And there's been corrupt systems of mind control that you've been exposing for so long through different cultures that basically create the same formula with these cults and priesthoods to keep people in the dark. And we go through the same process over and over again.
Yeah, but do you think it's different now in any way? I mean, do you see the effect of your cause?
Well, I mean, I have been the most successful in the last 31 years I've been on air of all these other great people at reaching the most people and having the biggest effect. But I really just kind of rode in on the beginning of the big wave that has now brought us the global awakening we're seeing, and now there's even a bigger wave forming. So, I mean, I stood on the shoulders of so many other great people who I got to interview, and most of them are gone now, over the years. I mean, I was interviewing Kathy O'Brien 30 years ago. She was on You and I Today. And boy, you look at what she said 30 years ago, it's all been proven accurate. I mean,
isn't that amazing?
So, I mean, I was just young and wanted to be able to get on every platform I could because I wanted to tell people about this stuff. And so that's why I had success. And then that system persecuted me and came after me. And so we had the Streisand effect. So, God works in mysterious ways.
Yes, absolutely. I do want to talk to you about God because you are very educated in that subject. In fact, I always go, he's a mystic. Alex Jones is a mystic.
Well, I have had a lot of what you call mystic experiences in my life.
But the way you put thoughts together, I mean, it's very powerful. And it's narrative destroying stuff. So I wanted to ask you about your faith because I feel like you're always talking about your faith and it's deeply felt. I can tell it's deeply felt by you. And I wanted to ask you how core is that to everything you do?
Well, we went to church and stuff when I was a child, but I really wasn't that attracted to it because it just seemed kind of like a pep rally. But the archetypes of good versus evil, and then experiencing the Holy Spirit and being given discernment, basically told the future, or certainly given inclinations of it, and then in many events where I was just literally, not very often, but sometimes actually hear a voice saying, this is about to happen, usually warnings, and then it happening quite a few times, and also having dreams that came true. Sometimes
that's called foresight, right?
Absolutely. So I certainly, young, realized that there was something to the spiritual realm. In fact, it's everything. Third dimension is just a reflection of that.
Yeah.
And so this dimension is just a reflection of we call it higher dimensions, but the more complex dimensions.
Yeah, up in the penthouse of thought where all wars are won and lost, right?
Yes. And so, I mean, I've just had a lot of interesting experiences, and I also, there's a spiritual battle. So when I was young, I didn't quite understand it all, still don't, but I was spiritually attacked quite a bit. And I learned that actually made me not be as naive and made me grow up quicker. So I've had some adventures.
What was the first spiritual attack you felt as a child? Because I had one too. I wonder what yours was like.
I've never really shared that.
Ever see your dog or cat slowing down or having health issues and you wonder, what can I do to make them better? Well, my friend, add Ruff Greens for your dog or Meow Greens to your cat's food for 90 days and you'll see changes that will amaze you, guaranteed. Invented by naturopathic Dr. Dennis Black, Ruff Greens wants to invite you to give your pup or kitty the Ruff Greens 90-day challenge. In the first 90 days, you'll see shinier coats, increased energy, and your pet will have a stronger immune system and improved joint function, all due to the live nutrients you've added to their diet. And at 90 days, better digestion, reduced inflammation, improved heart health, and you might even have reduced their cancer risk. Fetch a free Jumpstart trial bag for your pet today. Go to ruffgreens.com and just use the promo code Roseanne. That's Ruff, R-U-F-F, ruffgreens.com and use the promo code Roseanne and just cover shipping. You don't have to change your pet's food to improve your fur baby's health. It's easy. Just add a scoop of Ruff Greens or Meow Greens. Well, do you want to or not?
You know,
You could talk in allegory.
Or what is a spiritual attack, maybe?
I mean, you know the type Tucker Carlson talked about?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had some of that happen when I was young. And you should call it like poltergeist type stuff.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I was never like, hearing voices on a regular basis. I think people were after me. I was totally whatever, but only every once in a while they're like, well, look out or watch out. And then,
Yeah.
And then I also had some experiences.
That could be guardian angels, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then I had experiences where, you're not thinking anything's going on, nothing's happening. It's afternoon on a Saturday. My dad's waiting in the car to go to a movie, and just get picked up and thrown all the way up against the wall, and my shoulder just located.
Oh, wow.
It was like, whoa. So definitely in the whole spiritual, energetic vortex, there was some interesting stuff going on. And I had some other experiences like that, but of more of spiritual assault, something trying to force its way in, of like sexual nature.
Yeah.
That's one of the forms of demonic invasion.
Yeah.
And then I had, since we're smoking, I'm having one too. Don't do this at home, kids. Since I'm in shape, working out a lot, but I still smoke a few cigarettes. Love tobacco. Love Tucker Carlson's out, by the way. It's great and healthy and good for you that way. But it's not nicotine that's bad. It's the delivery systems. But, I had some interesting experiences when I was pretty young. I mean, I wouldn't call it, from my perspective, it wasn't pedophilic because I was 12 and I looked like I was about 15 or 16. But I would have like older girls in the town, in the neighborhood and stuff, that I started getting with when I was 12 and had what you'd call a lot of success at that. And then by the time I was about 13 or so, repeatedly, different ones, 10, 20 miles apart, would say, hey, we're in a satanic cult. We want you to be in it.
Oh, wow.
And I had some pretty amazing things there, and never was part of it. But repeatedly, I would be like, thinking, oh, this 16-year-old girl when I'm 14, is taking me out to the lake or whatever. And then, like, pull into this place, and there's torches and stuff.
Oh, my God.
And black hoods. And then I'm like, boom, literally walk out of there. And you have to walk home out in the country and go knock on a farmhouse door and call my dad. They didn't have cell phones back then. So I had some adventures like that are like eyes wide shut.
Isn't it weird in the country how rife that is and nobody knows it, huh?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people get recruited into it because they think it's fun and adventurous. And Dallas was, richest area where I grew up, Rockwall, time in Texas, and it was pretty serious. We actually moved when I was 16 down to Austin. My dad owned a couple of dental offices and sold them just to get away from it. Big Christian community, like the Christians were totally asleep, and then you had people right next to it that were, rich and powerful. That's really where I saw it going on.
It seems to center itself where people are rich and powerful, doesn't it?
Absolutely, and I can see now the devil's not omnipresent, but he's been around a long time and does have his agents all over and has that intelligence, and could figure out God had some big plan for me. So I definitely got targeted.
But you knew God had a plan for you?
No, I got tempted by evil and the pride of it. I mean, not by the occultism and stuff, but just what I was becoming. And I would say that I never, fell to evil completely, but for a couple of years, 14, 15, I was, becoming influenced by evil.
Flirting.
Visions, the ideas, all of it.
Dark.
Mindset. I really just pride, more of a Luciferian temptation, power. And then, God interceded in it. And by the time I was 18, I had, not in a church or anything, but a big Holy Ghost experience. Then God gave me a mission. And then after I've been on air about 3-4 years, I had another, call it a vision, but it wasn't visual, but it was like all this knowledge, this download, what I was going to do, what was going to happen. And so since then, I've been just getting stronger.
So
but God told me I get persecuted, all this stuff would happen, but it would create big success. And I've been on air at least 26, 27 years talking about that we would wake everybody up, it would trigger a great awakening. It would cause a big, giant, trigger against the globalists and everything. And it happened.
And you
I've been on air about
did.
26 years saying that.
And you did.
Can I ask, did he tell you that would happen?
I've had other downloads since then, but this was the big one I'd already been on. The first big download when I was about 18 was a big challenge. And I'd already pulled away from what I could see in hindsight was evil seducing me, and pulled out of it a lot. And by the time I was about 18, I had this big experience with a lot of darkness, a lot of just feeling evil attacking me, and nightmares and stuff like that. And then God saying, you need to, the way this is getting at you is the women, not the women are bad, but it was, I was still very promiscuous. And I wasn't having the, kind of the Luciferian visions at that point, but the temptations, but I was still that. And God said, you need to stop, doing this, and I'm going to give you your mission. And then I said, okay. And then it was the globalists, the New World Order, fight them, get prepared, start researching it. Do this. You need to go on air. You need to expose this as your mission. It took me about 1.5 years of that process to get myself basically close enough aligned to God to then be led. Maybe have a clear transmission. That's what it really is about. That's what they need to do. Sinful stuff to block the transmission. Because when you do bad stuff or you're influenced by it, you can't. The transmission can't get through.
Right.
Because God's free will, and if you're entertaining other bad stuff, God could get through it, but it just doesn't. It's a respectful thing, and that's your free will. I'm not gonna. So once I got clear, it's like coming out of a dark cave into the sun. Once I got out into the sun, then it was like, and I was on air about 2-3 years, and I was already doing a radio show by then locally, but also had like an access show a few nights a week, and I'd gotten off the air at like 8 or 9, gone to Waterloo Ice House on 5th Street and 6th Street, and it was already kind of 2 or 3 people in there, but I ordered chicken fried steak and iced tea, and told the story 1 million times. Listeners are probably sick of it. And there's a person mopping and stuff, and I'm almost done eating, and it was like, I could feel this intense presence, and it was invigorating, but also scary. And then I could tell it was awesome power, and I knew it was big angel. It was like I could be like woo, and I'm like going, and the hair on my neck, everything's electric. And I'm like sitting there totally clean, no beer, no drugs, no nothing.
Did you know that when your metabolism is working properly, you will feel the benefits in literally every aspect of your life? I found a valuable tool that gives me insights to create a healthy metabolism for my body. It's called Lumen. Lumen is the world's first handheld metabolic coach. It's a device that measures your metabolism through your breath. And on the app, it lets you know if you're burning fat or carbs, or it gives you tailored guidance to improve your nutrition, your workout, sleep, and even stress management. All you have to do is breathe into your Lumen first thing in the morning, and you'll know what's going on with your metabolism, whether you're burning mostly fats or carbs. Then Lumen gives you a personalized nutrition plan for that day based on your measurements. Optimal metabolic health translates to a bunch of benefits, including easier weight management, improved energy levels, better fitness results, and better sleep. The warmer months are coming. Spring back into your health and fitness. Go to lumen.me/Roseanne to get 15% off of your Lumen. That's LUMEN.me/Roseanne for 15% off your purchase. Thank you, Lumen, for sponsoring this episode. With everything that's happening in the economy, it feels like we're walking on shaky ground. Prices are stuck at a really high level, and it seems like nothing's affordable anymore. It's no wonder many are relying on credit cards to cover the gaps. But credit card debt is skyrocketing, and it's leaving a lot of people really stressed out. If you're a homeowner, you don't have to face this uncertainty alone. My friends at AmericanFinancing.com can help you take control. They can help you access the equity in your home to help you pay down the high-interest credit card debt, giving you peace of mind and real savings. On average, people just like you are saving $800 a month. Plus, they may close your loan in as little as 10 days. So don't let the chaos of this economy get the best of you. Call AmericanFinancing.com now. It costs you nothing to get started, and you may delay 2 mortgage payments, giving you a little bit of a cushion in these uncertain times. Call today, 866-890-8585. That's 866-890-8585 or americanfinancing.net/Roseanne.
I'm sitting there, and it was like, okay, this is your life. You saw those events and things that happened, a whole bunch of things, bam, 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 like flashing before your eyes.
Yeah.
And, you know, you say you want to help the innocents and help the children and stand up against evil, and you've already been on the right path. Is this something you want to do? Do you really want to do it? And I was like being commissioned. I mean, I was like, I could tell. And so much knowledge, like a lot of it only opens up later as time goes on.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I think I do. And then God was like, well, let me show you some of the different possible futures depending on what humanity decides to do and some of the things that can happen to you and what this process is going to be like, just to make sure that's what you want. So then I was shown all this really horrible stuff. And I said, well, no, I still want to do it. And God said, well, here's the good stuff that's going to happen. And then it was like the walls of the building went out, and it was just like, all right. And it was for about 30, 40 minutes. And then they kind of came over and they said, sir, we're closing. And I was like, because it just stopped. It was like right on cue. The person walks over, sir, we're closing. Thank you. Because I was just sitting there, and it was all this knowledge, all this data that I got then that I could barely even understand. It was like all these little pieces of information that each one opened up a whole library of understanding. And then the process, every time I need the information, then I get taken back to that moment as that stuff was literally dropping in, and then it opens up like a whole armory. I don't know how to describe it.
I understand.
And then if I dial into that knowledge of that point, then it's always got the answers right there. But I have to get to a quiet place and like really think about it and connect, and then it's already been given to me.
I totally understand that. I had, much the same experience in my life. And I always find things in books that when I'm looking, I could just get a book and open it, and that page will explain what I'm thinking of at the moment.
It's incredible.
It is incredible. Once you're dialed into whatever it is, I mean, I just call it the intelligence of God. It's funny how things work, right? And so how do you feel now when you're saying these things with what's happened to you, that you might lose your studio this week, that you owe $1 billion with this phony crap that they came at you? What about freedom of speech? What they've done to you is just...
Well, the biggest thing is they went with PR firms and thousands of articles, literally thousands of news programs, just made up this straw man, then had show trials where I was already guilty. Mm-hmm. I don't feel sorry for myself. The $1.5 billion, they asked for $2.75 trillion, I'm not joking, the GDP of India, was about scaring everybody else. Same reason, Virginia... Giuffre, just got murdered. She'd already said everything and exposed him. It was a message to everybody else.
Make an example out of you.
So it was all about, they know that's not going to intimidate me. I'm on this mission. It's not even courage. I signed over to it. I have free will, but I'm totally committed. There's no going back. There's no changing course. I can't even do it. I mean, it's not even courage. I have free will, but I mean, I'm turned myself over to God. So the flesh is weak and still like it's this other thing over here, and I'm sitting above it. It wants to do some things that aren't good. Smoke a cigarette, whatever. Lust after a woman. Sure, that's all good, but that's like down here. It's like, it's not even me. It's like, and but the Alex Jones, my spirit, is far beyond them. Yeah. There's nothing they can do.
It's already gone.
But what they do is they try to silence you so they can build this straw man person you're not, to then try to steal your identity to manipulate and control and scare others.
That's what they did to me too.
Yeah.
But here we are. And isn't it great?
It is, and we're watching amazing things happen. I know it's not quick enough for everybody to understand that, but compared to how fast we were moving in the awakening, we've gone from 1 mile an hour to light speed.
You think?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness.
Didn't you love that meme of, what's his name, Kash Patel, that meme where the judge is getting arrested, and the caption is, "No one is above the law."
It was his post.
It was his post on X. Isn't that great?
Beautiful.
Because all this time with them saying that about Trump on, trumped up, manufactured, cases that they threw at the president or the former president, the one they stole the election from. I mean, it seems like people more and more are just opening their eyes and seeing what's right in front of their face. That's what Americans don't like to do. Have you noticed that?
Because television was born here, and you're set in front of it in your diapers, and you want to just believe it's all a big, fun house or something. But people now know deep down that's not fulfilling, and it's all a lie, and the delusion's coming to an end. And so there's a great separation of people that are going to buy any delusion and people that are wanting to wake up. And I'm not fully woken up. None of us are until we actually meet God, and and literally just get even closer to God's presence. And like you said, it's just God's knowledge. It's God's truth broadcasting throughout the universe. Just God's spirit is everywhere in everything, unless you go against it. And then God gives you free will to separate yourself from God. And so everything good comes from God. Everything bad comes from separating from it. It's like separating from your mother, or fish separating from the water.
Yeah.
Or it's not like it's just but God is omnipresent, and the only thing that God could do that was outside of his total perfection would be to create new creatures that have free will. And then we are allowed to, just like when we have children, they could end up being great people or bad people. They could end up being serial killers, hopefully not. But is that a crime that we wanted to have children and had them and tried to raise them right? They have free will. And it's some reflection on us, but we still decided to create new creatures. And so that's the perfection of God, that God creates humanity, creates our spirits, but then 2 men and 2 women come together and then combine their genetics and create a whole new creature that is the earth suit or the seat of the spirit. And it's all beyond fabulous, and there's perfection in all of it. That's why the Satan is attacking the male and the female, because that is the unity, that is the perfection of God's system that you see in everything in the universe.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But what was the charge that they won on? My son and I don't understand it.
It's a long story, and the average person that doesn't study the law, which I certainly didn't study it much, but I know a lot about it. I was found civilly liable by a Texas Democrat Party operative judge and a Connecticut operative judge. And so they defaulted me, saying I didn't give them discovery. We gave them everything. There was nothing about these people, 22 minutes of me talking about them in evidence. The internet didn't believe, the official story. And I just barely ever even covered it. And so for years, before they sued me, they had PR firms raising money. I mean, now hundreds of millions off my name with ads on Facebook and Twitter saying, help us, Alex Jones is attacking us. We need money. He's sending people to pee on their graves, and nobody even did that, period. So I didn't understand, why are they talking about me all over the news? They were raising money off Bloomberg.
Oh, it's all about fundraising, everything they do.
Yeah, so it was like Alex Jones is being mean, and Alex Jones is Trump's right-hand man, which wasn't true. Right. So it was like raise money off Alex Jones, while by extension you demonize Trump. And after they did that and raised a couple $100 million, we have the documents now, we published them. Then they raised hundreds of millions more once they sue me. And then they're on the news saying, he made his fortune off us. He's got billions. I never had $10 million in the bank. So it's just lie upon lie upon lie. Then for a couple of years, they depose me. We give them everything. There's nothing there. So they go, oh, you're defaulted. You didn't give us the discovery stuff.
Oh, that's the charge?
Yeah, well, it's civil. But yeah, they said, you're found guilty by the judge. And then the juries have trials on damages, and the jurors don't know that. So the judges at both trials on TV said he is guilty. You understand that?
Right.
But something happened on YouTube, and they had like dozens of people carrying it. The big law channels. Some of them had millions of viewers at one time. And at first, it's like 60-40. 60% already had questions and thought it was weird. The majority were still for me, but by a few days into both trials, 99% were for me. And they cut off comments on all of the YouTube channels that had it, because people are like, well, she just admonished the jury he's guilty. She just told him she'll put him in jail if he says he's innocent again. You are not allowed to say you're innocent. That's part of your lying. You are guilty. You made billions off these people. Never made $1 billion gross in 30 years. Just, it was just bizarre.
It was all lawfare.
Absolutely. And then in Texas and Connecticut, the last few days of each trial, it was all coordinated produced by HBO, literally, like produced with scripts. I didn't realize until I was in the middle of it that it was that scripted. I mean, I was shocked they would do that.
Yeah.
And they...
That's what Nancy Pelosi did with the January 6th
Absolutely,
thing.
her and her daughter. And then Trump said, I want 10,000 National Guard, and Milley threatened to resign if he kept pushing it. And then under the law, unless he declares the Insurrection Act, last time that was done was in 1992 in the urban riots in L.A. Unless he declares that, he has to have the governor or the District of Columbia leader has to ask him in.
Right.
So he said, hey, give me 10,000. They said, no. Then they go on the news and say, he didn't want troops there. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's all bullshit.
It is bullshit.
You know, hopefully bullshit dies real soon because, you know, I mean.
I was there on January 6th. I get down there, you know, we're at the Ellipse, 1 million people are around it.
Mm-hmm.
Hundreds of thousands already marched the Capitol. Trump goes, go peacefully to the Capitol. We had a stage set up behind it. We get to there, and I climb up on a big pile of chairs they have with bubble wrap on it or whatever, because it was for a few weeks later, the inauguration. But people ask what I crawl up on top of. It's a big box of chairs. And I bullhorn, don't go in, don't go in. Wall Street Journal, CNN, Jones, like a coward, sat back and ordered his followers to attack. They tried to indict me for it. They put me in front of the fake Jan 6 committee and then destroyed the interview because I called them criminals to their face in Congress. So that's part of their destruction of evidence. They falsified evidence. And Owen Schroyer was with me, my co-host. He'd been here in 2016, since 2015. So they said in 2000, and then when they indicted him and put him in jail a few years ago, they put in the indictment, Owen Schroyer went in the Capitol and attacked people, never went in it. Owen doesn't work at Infowars. He's a liar, Your Honor. It was demonstratable. He was an anchor. He's on right now in the other room.
Right.
I mean, it's just you read this stuff and they just don't care.
No,
and the judges, most of them don't care.
Right.
No, they're ops. The judges
it's
are ops.
Insane. Owen was with me. We tried to stop people going in. Owen didn't. They literally said, Your Honor, he doesn't work there. He's not a journalist.
Now, don't you think that Obama did that? He put all those judges
100%.
in. See, that's what I'm telling you. Obama, his the number one visitors to the Obama White House were people in Muslim Brotherhood, including Valerie Jarrett, who ran the White House. And they put their ops in place to, make sure that.
That's right. Obama is the head of the Muslim Brotherhood worldwide.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for saying that.
People don't talk about that enough.
No, they just talk about the Jews,
Yeah.
which is Qatari propaganda of the Muslim Brotherhood.
Well, I mean, there's no doubt that there's powerful Israel lobbies, different factions, all that stuff, and Israel's not.
Yeah, and they all work for Qatar.
I was about to say, though, when you actually, Soros, the left, the corporate media, the universities, all of them, and there are billions of Muslims, and they are taking over, and that is their religion.
Yeah.
And even the right wing will attack me, the so-called right wing. Oh no, don't talk about the Muslims. That's Jew propaganda. And I'm like,
right.
Let's just say Israel's the worst thing on earth.
Yeah.
Okay, what about the Muslims? That's billions of people taking over, burning thousands of churches down the last few years. They just burned one down in Wales. And they don't want it. The left defends it, and the ultra right wing.
Yeah.
I know. How does that happen? Well, I know how it happens.
It's paid for.
They're both getting Swiss money.
Well, I happen to know because it's come out that a lot of these influencers that used to be anti-globalist or whatever.
Now they're pro-globalist.
Wait.
They're defending the whole Islamic angle.
Yeah.
Right?
You have documents, or what do you have proving it? Because we've been saying it.
Yeah.
I figured it out.
Yeah, well, I mean, I do have a lot of that. The point is you get that stuff and it's off record. You can also see the talking points are exactly the same with all
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, they don't even change it. It's like bloop, 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 bloop. You know talking points you're seeing.
Yeah.
Like somebody could take ChatGPT or Grok and put in what we say here today. It's not going to match up with talking points.
No.
No.
You know talking points when you hear them.
Yeah.
So I have sources and all the rest of it, but I don't even need that. And my thing is, I'm not saying. Here's the deal. The Islamists vote leftist 97% of the time.
Yep.
Whether they're in Michigan or whether they're in London, whether they're in Germany, whether they're in France, whether they're in the Netherlands, no matter where they are allied with the globalists and the left.
Yeah.
And, KGB communists.
Absolutely.
And Chicom.
That's where they get their color revolution ideas when they married up with
China's
them.
on record owning the control stock of 5 of the 7 biggest Hollywood. I mean, that's when you see these movies like Civil War, where a Trumpian figure is killed by a military.
Yeah.
Yep.
All of that is the Chicoms funding, DEI, all of it.
Oh.
And then I'm not even an apologist for Israel or Jews, though I don't see it as one group. Anytime I'm like, oh, look, the Muslims just burned down another 100 churches this week. Shut up, you're doing that because Netanyahu told you. I'm a huge critic. It's nothing to do with that. It becomes this mindless thing where you can't face the Chi-Coms or the Islamic takeover, the invasion, because the only thing in the universe that exists is the omnipresent, all-powerful Jew.
Yes.
And it becomes really a sick mental illness because, and so
Well, it's Islamicist propaganda, because the real thing is that the Mufti of Jerusalem met with Hitler in the 1920s, and they planned it all out, how they were going to Judenrein Europe, and then they were going to follow that with...
That's the Kalergi plan, too.
Yeah, and Judenrein the Middle East.
But it's worse than that. Well, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, go. Tell me. I know about the Kalergi plan, but...
Well, but you know about everything. I'm not trying to say you don't know, but finish your point, and then I'm going to tell you something that's pretty wild.
No, I mean, but all 53 Arab states that surround Israel are now Judenrein, and all of those Jews went to Israel because they're Middle Eastern. They're not going to go to Germany. All these lies. But that is all
and again, most people
Muslim Brotherhood.
Jews only don't even really. They always talk about Ashkenazi. They don't talk about Sephardi.
Yeah, because it's convenient to their narrative to say that the Jews aren't Middle Eastern, don't belong in Israel. But, 2/3 of Israel are brown Jews that come from the Middle East. So it's just all Nazi bullshit propaganda.
But even a lot of Israel joins with the sophisticated dialectic of the pro-Palestinian stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, but those are, that's Tel Aviv. That's Queers for Palestine.
Yeah. Well, here's what really... Because the whole world's still based on the World War II model, and that's kind of coming to an end.
Which I'm so glad of. I think that needs to end because it's a whole new thing now.
Absolutely.
I like Trump's vision of the new world, don't you?
Absolutely. And I can, if you want to quantify what that is.
Yeah, please.
But it's not that the British Empire controlled Hitler or ran Hitler. It is actually in PhD level, Pulitzer Prize winning books. But it's never on the History Channel, that in World War I, with the Austro-Hungarian Empire, the British Empire were the bad guys then, and went and killed the Archduke Franz Ferdinand and started that war. Yeah. And all over the British newspapers was the German problem, and because the Germans were even surpassing the United States in science and industry and chemicals, and were coming up with all these new systems that were unseating all the other industrial powers. So Germany, in the middle of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, was just, Buck Rogers level.
Mm-hmm.
And so because of all of that, the British went and started a fight, had World War I, did all that, then put horrible Versailles Treaty on Germany, and all those social controls, put leftists in charge to piss everybody off. And the Milner group, before Hitler was even on the radar by the mid-20s, these are declassified. The British government said, we want to fund highly nationalist, militaristic groups. We'll fund a bunch of them. Whichever one becomes dominant, we'll back. And then we'll infiltrate it with our agents, and we'll build Germany back up and have another war with them to stay in power. That way they don't become industrial again.
Wow.
And so it's just like Israel helping create Hamas in the 70s and saying, oh, we don't want the leaders then that were, wearing bikinis, listening to rock and roll, and you wanted to have casinos, and so it was the same thing. They didn't run Hamas, but they created it.
Well, because they didn't want the PLO.
Well, that too, but as bad as Yasser Arafat was, I'm just saying it was, you put an even more radical group in to just, and make them fracture. So Hitler was set up, put in power, given Western financing, built up. Neville Chamberlain, placated him because he was told to.
Yeah.
Because if you remember, Rudolf Hess, the deputy Fuhrer, famously early in World War II, flies himself, parachutes in over the palace with the treaty. Mm-hmm. And this is not even denied. Then they put him in the tower for the rest of his life because they had a peace deal with England.
Did you know the AARP, that group that's supposed to help seniors? Well, it's actually promoted Drag Queen Story Hour.
Mm-hmm. Infiltrated.
I guess they just want old people to drop dead of a heart attack or pride or something. I'm not kidding, folks. They backed Obamacare, trashed the Trump tax cuts, and they're basically a mouthpiece for the woke left. Well, guess what? There is a better choice. It's called AMAC, A-M-A-C, the Association of Mature American Citizens. and they actually fight for the America you and I love. You know, freedom, common sense, and keeping the government out of our lives and our business. AMAC is fighting for Social Security, election integrity, and real conservative family values. And listen to this. You don't have to be old to join. Anyone can sign up and be part of it. Right now, you can get a 5-year AMAC membership for just $31. It's normally $60. So that's 47% off. Wow. But you've got to act fast because this deal is ending April 30th. So don't send your money to AARP so they can fund more woke garbage. Go to amac.us/Roseanne and join the fight. That's amac.us/Roseanne.
And they were supposed to put Edward VIII, who was Austrian-Hungarian German, the king, on the throne of the EU once the Germans took over Europe. And they were going to make the UK actually the main headquarters, but it was all a big narrative setting up Hitler and making him believe all
Well,
this.
the UK royals are German.
Exactly. It was Edward VIII. The king was, remember, he lived in Germany, had to escape out of Spain during World War II. Yeah, Edward, they wish you, he stepped down because he married an American woman. No. That was this, but the point is, this is like mainline history books. It's not on History Channel. And so that's the sophistication of that. Like the CIA put Saddam Hussein into power.
Yeah.
Had him assassinate the Ba'athist leader. Then told him, you will attack Iran. Then told him, yeah, go ahead and invade Kuwait. We're not going to get involved. Then they set him up. So it's not that Saddam was a good guy. It's actually on the record that he was set up.
Yeah.
So Hitler was just a much bigger Saddam Hussein. And that's when you realize how cynical this is.
Yeah.
How many people they got killed, what they did.
Well, I mean, they are in human farming.
Yeah.
The owners of the world are very much eugenicists and very much into human farming, and they're still doing it.
Absolutely.
And America, when we brought the Nazis over, Operation Paperclip, and they took over our sciences and our the American...
And that's on record, again, because the Germans, for whatever reason, were dominant in everything. They have the nuclear equations for the atomic bomb in the 1890s, Max Planck, all that. And so yeah, the UK and the US, then England had a lot of its own mind control systems, but the Nazi stuff from Joseph Mengele was way advanced. And so whether it was NASA or the US intelligence agencies, Klaus Barbie came in and advised them all how to set up the CIA. That's on record, mainline history. And they were all allowed to operate out of Argentina. Well, it wasn't we didn't know they were down there. And notice you didn't see Simon Wiesenthal actually going down there. The Germans, they founded these huge German palaces they still have there.
Yeah.
Well, they say that's where Hitler went, Argentina.
Yeah, whether he got there or not, I don't know. But Klaus Barbie and Joseph Mengele, hundreds of thousands went to Argentina.
Well, I just look at the American philosophy of eugenicism and, attacking all these countries, which we did under Democrats.
Well, Hitler's, guys that were at Nuremberg, they all used the U.S. eugenics and British Eugenics Society as their defense.
Yeah, I know.
They used Margaret Sanger as their defense because she was the one saying kill all the black people.
I know. But people...
That's the modern liberal. See how perfect it is. We're all Nazis because we're against euthanasia and abortion and transgender sterilizing kids. But then George Soros brags that it was the best time of his life helping round up Jews in Eastern Europe. It's like, and Arnold Schwarzenegger gets awards from the ADL, and then Arnold Schwarzenegger's dad was an SS officer, and Arnold Schwarzenegger told Rolling Stone magazine that he loves Hitler.
I know. I know that's part of the whole mind control program, and it's part of why we went to Vietnam. It's part of everything. It's part of why Obama bombed 8 brown countries. It's part of everything that's
They
wrong.
destroy those countries, then open our borders up and bring in the pissed off Muslims. They have COVID lockdowns, starve tens of millions, and then say, COVID caused the third world to collapse. No, the lockdowns did. Then they use that for replacement migration to flood us.
It's just awful. And just watching Americans be carried away by a flood of ignorance really fucking bothers me.
Well, it's the cold-bloodedness. People, McCarthy was a good guy.
Yeah.
I know looking back, oh my God, he was so right about everything.
Exactly. But they were going to use his anti-communism thing as a way to get around the Bill of Rights.
Oh.
Okay, we can sell Americans, but really the West had helped set up the Soviets, just like we did Mao and then the rest of that.
Right.
And so when he found out, if you remember famously, that the Army and the State Department's funding the communists and we're their bosses, that's when they discredited him in the media. Was as soon as he figured out communists weren't just the communist secretaries or whatever.
Right.
Once it became that, they've built up this big threat to then build up this big counter to it that's really the threat to us.
That's right. Like the U.S. State Department, and especially when Obama and Biden were in, creating ISIS and then bringing them here. And people don't know. Americans don't know who's here.
Well, I remember back when 9/11 happened, exposing that Al-Qaeda was basically run by the CIA and other Western intelligence agencies. Now they admit that Turkey, Israel, the U.S., and NATO have been attacking Assad with Al-Qaeda and ISIS for 15 years. And then they go, the new head of Al-Qaeda, he's no longer Al-Qaeda, he's the new leader of Syria. And so now they just admit, the entire West is funding Al-Qaeda. And USA, it all came out.
Yeah.
Like you said.
I know. It's
so you're vindicated. You talked about that decades ago.
I know, but it's just so sickening to see Americans fall for this. Just, I don't know. What are we going to do?
I mean, I just think listeners, anybody out there watching me, need to actually not just go off what I'm saying or go off what you're saying. Because just because people are mistrustful of the system, that's a good thing overall to ask questions. But then don't just then think everything's bull. Track down what I've said.
Right.
Go pick some of the things I've said, and then go look up it for yourself, and then do your own research, and then find out that what I'm telling you is true. And then you'll learn more that I don't know along the way. So I think that's really the thing. Because it sounds wild to say the deputy Fuhrer, flew to England with the peace treaty and all that. But what's crazy is that's in mainline history. That's not even denied.
Yeah.
Why do you think the Brits just stood down and let Hitler do what he was doing? They had a deal to the last minute when Hitler went too far, setting him up. And then you realize the cold-bloodedness of that. That's because they know how to gear up a giant war.
And that's all they want. But then it's like really crazy, the thing about Iran and all that stuff, that I go back and forth is, should we blow the hell out of, should we blow Iran up, or at least bomb something in Iran, or not? I don't know. What do you think?
Well,
I don't like it where they're going, where they're saying Israel wants to destroy Iran. Well, Iran wants to kill every Jew in the Middle East, which they say daily, and they also want to destroy America. They say big Satan and little Satan. I don't see why people would think that they need to defend Iran. I don't know where the answer is.
On my broadcast, you made a good point that people don't know that the CIA overthrew the Iranian government that was elected in '53.
Yeah, and they always install a caliphate. Yeah. Our government always puts in a caliphate instead of a democracy.
Just like they're funding Al-Qaeda.
Yeah.
Just like Biden didn't withdraw because his controllers, because he was incompetent. They wanted to give them the $87 billion in weapons.
Absolutely.
Which they used to go take down Syria. Right. And I knew at the time.
And they also used them on October 7th against Israel.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. No, that's true. And they used the money that Obama and Biden gave Iran to launch the attack. Right. So
it's
sick.
It's the U.S. and the leftist NGOs are behind all of it through the UN.
And what they're doing is they're getting all the sides to kill each other.
Yeah.
So people go like, what side are they on? They're on the devil side. They're against
they
us.
are on the devil side.
And when you pull back and go, devil wants us to kill each other.
Yeah.
And wants a nuclear war.
Yeah.
That's what I always say about Israel is that there's so many Obama Jews there. That's why there's a civil war there, because there are so many leftist Jews there.
And then again.
And they're in the military. And they're like, there shouldn't be in Israel.
What I'm saying is it's a dialectic.
It is.
They are using different forces against each other that then collide, that then create an outcome they want.
Yeah, a caliphate.
What is the outcome they want? You talked about her when she was on your.
Don't you think they want a caliphate?
Well, the people that want a caliphate want a caliphate.
Yeah, and they have all the money.
Are you saying it's bigger? You said it was China when she was on your show today. You were talking about the new globalist
China,
agenda. Who is it? Who is they? We always ask this on our show.
I mean, China is allied with Islam.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Unless they're in China, then they're in death camps.
Right.
Yeah.
Figures, who are like super nice Muslims.
Yeah.
Well, that's why. That's
You know, most Muslims hate the Muslim Brotherhood,
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, that's the big mafia, is the Muslim Brotherhood.
right. So they're in bed with China.
Yeah, and the Muslim Brotherhood even goes back to Napoleon. He converted to Islam, and it goes back to the Ottoman Empire. It's yeah, there's different factions.
You think King Charles converted to Islam?
He is in those orders. He has honorarily converted to Islam. It's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean,
As the head of the head of the Anglican Church.
Absolutely, but beyond that, the British royalty is seen as the head of all royalty worldwide, even the Japanese.
Absolutely.
The head. So that's why they also didn't convert to Judaism. They get sworn in on the Stone of Destiny, and they actually, if you go deeper, it goes all Merovingian. They say they are, related to Christ. So it gets.
Right.
Then you got the Rothschilds. Once they took over after the Battle of Waterloo by crashing the stock market and saying that Napoleon had really won. This is like mainline history.
Yeah.
Most don't know about it. They got breeding rights. So it's all, at the top, it's all about absolute power.
It is about
And it's
naked.
not a religion. It's not a religion.
I think it's a religion.
Who is?
I think it's a religion.
I think it's above all that, right? They're just Satanists or whatever it is. Like, it's not.
That's
the
a
Jews, it's not the-
religion.
well, I know, but
Yeah, they
You know what I'm
always
asking?
say, instead they're mid-level Satanists, oh, we don't really believe in Satan. This is just about us being God. And I don't believe in God yet. You kind of like Yuval Noah Harari and people say. It's 100% spiritual.
yeah.
And all that means is what your eyes don't see, which is a tiny spectrum of the light spectrum.
That's
We don't
right.
see cell phone waves. We don't see radio waves. We don't see ultraviolet rays. We don't see the little radio signal from your garage door opener, but it's all there.
Right.
And so the best way I describe it to lay people is most people know there's hundreds of billions of galaxies they've already photographed.
Mm-hmm.
So let's guess we're not the only life in the universe.
Right.
And then there's free will. And then the way the universe really works, everything's interconnected. All the dimensions are all wrapped together. So there's basically energetic decisions about where energy goes.
Yeah.
So there's people that decide to go to what you call the dark energy source or the light energy source. And so people ask, why is all this going on? You can have Chinese, you can have Jews, you can have Catholics, you can have Muslims, you have all these people in these groups. But you can still have good people in every group because some just innately are resonating to the light, some are the dark. So people the Bible talks about the mystery of evil.
Yeah.
It's that what binds it together is, how do you fire out a text message and some zeros and ones go out and somebody in another country gets it? You don't see how it goes out and the satellites it goes over and how it works. Well, it's the same thing. We sit here with our limited perspective and go, how does all this work? Who's running it? It's good versus evil.
Yeah.
And Satan's got a plan and God's got a plan.
And I think it's like, because I always say this, because this is how it occurs to me. What if all the good people of every group got together and shunned all the bad people of every group? Yeah. Instead of...
But that's why they get us into conflicts with each other.
Yeah.
Where even if we don't want to kill or hurt the people, they're coming to get us, and they've got their reason to do it.
Yeah.
That's why they create the conflict, because that gets you into a survival mode.
Right. But then you're defending...
That's why Klaus Schwab wants to make us all poor.
Right.
And they want to cut energy, because when you cut energy, when the average paycheck anywhere in the world hits 50% for energy and food, you get civil unrest. You go to 60%, you get revolutions. And so they want revolutions worldwide, not to empower humanity, but to have their answers of more control and social engineering. And really their religion is the cashless society, the social credit score, and anything that's not human. The transgenderism, the pedophilia, destruction of the nuclear family, destruction of men and women that know how to work with their hands, that are self-sufficiency. All of this is domestication to physically capture us so that we can then be degraded in these high-tech prisons that we don't know are prisons to incrementally get us with our free will to choose Satan.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
It's to cut us off from God.
Yes, that's the big thing. Because
it's to keep us from knowing that we're created to be divine in our
Divide and
intelligence, right?
at little g, and not big G, interfacing with God, we are now part of God.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, he's our source. They want to cut us from source in every possible way.
And it's very...
That's our battery. They don't want us to have our battery.
And I mean, that's it. And so they want me off the air because...
What are you going to do to stay on the air? What can we do to help you? I know you're not going to just disappear. You're going to keep on.
Well, and they're going to attack whatever else we do new. But that goes with the territory. I knew this would happen. Again, I don't know if you know the whole saga. It would take hours to go over, but it's just the cheat notes is quite a dive. But I mean, they came in here without court orders to try to close the building in May of last year. Yeah. They had fake auctions and claimed that Bloomberg's backed Onion owned it. It wasn't true. They just made it up. It was fake. They didn't have an auction.
Showed up here too, right?
They've kicked me out repeatedly.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I refused to go one time. Then they cut the internet off the other time in November 14th.
Jeez.
So
just
here's how it works.
Why doesn't the Justice Department get involved?
Oh, they did. Let me tell you. I was about to say they passed a law in the 80s, and Trump wants to get rid of it because they've harassed him too, and it's a whole other branch of government. When they did the bankruptcy reform in the late 80s, they already had the office, but they expanded it. They created the Office of Justice Department Bankruptcy Oversight. And so when they want to, like in an Enron or whatever, the Justice Department can come in and have oversight and depositions and have a Justice Department trustee. And so when I declared bankruptcy 3 years ago, that's a record long one because they kept trying to find dirt in the bankruptcy. The judge, Chris Lopez, in my opinion, is not corrupt. It's actually blocked him a bunch, but he has limited stuff we can do following the law. He's strict constructionist. They put the first U.S. trustee in the CRO, and we're like trying to organize it and saying, okay, we'll settle. We can pledge this much money in the future. And they just kept saying, we don't want that. We want you to give the website. We want you to go off the air.
Just to pay for the settlement?
Yeah, to pay for the settlement. But they've said on courthouse steps and on the news, they don't want money.
Wow.
They want the
Infowars brand.
They want the standing, it's like I'm married to them, a relationship to just keep it going. That's how they can harass me. So I said...
It's censorship. It's to censor freedom of speech.
They've said it on the courthouse steps and in front of the judge. And I never made $70 million in 30 years, but I had a settlement conference over a year ago at a federal courthouse. They go, okay, we want $70 million. And my lawyer's like, over 10 years, do it. And I said, I'll agree to this, even though I don't have the money. I said, watch, once I agree, they'll say, oh, there's some other stipulations.
Uh-huh.
And they said, and I said, speech stipulations. Oh, that'll never happen. They come in like an hour later and go, we want him to agree to do no Second Amendment. And they go out of the room. I go, I'm not going to do any of that. But I said, just to say I'm entertaining it. What else? And they said, oh, that's good. We want to meet with you in the next few weeks. We have a whole list. We have some opportunities for you. Mm-hmm. We'd like you to work with us. That had already happened before these people's bosses, then the richest man in the world, about a year into Trump's administration. I'm already up in D.C. on some stuff. This big, high-powered top law firm, Republican law firm, the top one, says, hey, that was already doing some work for me for other lawsuits that just started. Hey, somebody would like to meet with you. It took them about a day to beat around the bush and all this stuff. And I said I wouldn't say the name, so I won't. But they're like, listen, you're about to get sued and destroyed. But it can all end right now. We want you to run a news fact-checking thing before this was even announced, that concept. And we want you to be the reformed guy that understands all this. We'll give you $50 million a year personally as your salary. We'll have a whole news division, and we're going to make you number one, which had already been offered by Roger Ailes to be the new Rush Limbaugh and all that before. I was like, no. This has happened. This talk with the devil up on the mountain happened a lot. And I said no. And they said, all right, well, you're going to regret this. And then the PR started the demonization for about a year and a half, then the lawsuits. So I'd already experienced that. So I'm at this mediation, which I wasn't supposed to talk about, but later they did it over the phone to my lawyers, not protected. They repeated all the same stuff. My lawyers said, go ahead and talk about it. And my lawyers were blown away. And they were seasoned. They said, we've never seen somebody literally come in and say, it's not about the money. Just forget the money. We want you to work for us.
Wow.
And so that, and I said, see what I'm talking about? But they've already said that now on the news. They're like, we don't want money. We want him to go off the air.
Yep.
And I would never go off the air voluntarily, but I sure as hell wouldn't.
They want you to be an asset.
Wouldn't work for them.
Right.
I mean,
it'll flip you.
Absolutely. So
wow.
That's all this is, and I know God's real, and I know justice is real, and everything they've done to me has just turned against them, made what I do bigger.
Yep.
So I put all faith in God, and I'm not worried about it. But yeah, I mean, these are cool studios, and we've been in here 16 years. That's half the time I've been on air. I've been on air 31 years. It's a little over half the time I've been here. So I've been here about 16 years. So it's almost exactly half my career on air. But I mean, we've already got new backup studios, bigger ones getting built.
That's what I like to hear.
Yeah.
I want to hear about that.
And by the way, I don't own this new network. I don't own this new stuff. Good. I'm just an employee, which is great. And I'll have content control over, I'm like the news director, but
great.
I love this. And so
it'll be half the ask and twice the reward.
Absolutely. But beyond that, they'll still have their non-dischargeable judgments on me. But we live in a debtor state. That's what Texas was founded. That's what Davy Crockett came here. He was in debt. I can have my house and my car. I'm a pretty simple guy.
Yeah.
I mean, my idea of fun is, grilling some hamburgers in the backyard.
Right.
So it means nothing to me. I don't need a bunch of status stuff. I don't care. So they were trying to put me in prison and a bunch of other stuff. So this is easy. But I did realize about a year ago, Joe Rogan, we're at dinner, and he goes, man, I'm going to tell you point blank. He goes, I'm all about truth. He goes, and I'm just more and more not holding back. He goes, you are a fat ass. You are your own worst enemy. We were hanging out a little bit before that at his place, actually, at his club, you and I, with Joe. And he said, you really need to get your stuff together. He goes, these people want to destroy you, and you're your own worst enemy, eating like a pig and doing all this stuff. You ought to intermittent fast. You ought to work out with my buddy. And finally, about 9 months ago, I just said, yeah, we'll do it. And because I realized I was my own worst enemy, not taking care of myself. These bad guys want to get me so bad. I need to take care of myself for myself and my family. So it really made me look inward and say, who is my number one enemy? God's protecting me from all this outside stuff. Every bad thing that happens, he turns around very quickly against them. So who is the variable? Who is the problem? And it's me.
You.
And so I think, regardless of who people think run everything, and it's the Vatican or it's the Jews or it's the whatever, there's evil in all those groups. There's good as well. Changing this is an inside job.
That's right.
And we can, saying, there's this great unstoppable evil is really the ultimate cop-out. Yeah, there's a lot of evil out there. People always say the devil's greatest trick was convincing the world that he didn't exist. I think that's his second biggest trick. The devil's biggest trick is that good doesn't exist.
That's right.
Wow.
Yeah. One of my teachers used to say, everybody's all convinced about Murphy's Law. He said that was the devil. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. But he goes, if you reverse it, nobody will believe that anything that can go right will go right. And it's the reversal of Murphy's Law that everybody needs to embrace and realize that that's true. It's true. If you're living with the eyes to see it, anything that can go right will go right.
That's my experience. And, there's the Garth Brooks song, some of God's greatest gifts are unanswered prayers. And
that's true, huh?
And as I've gotten older, I've really seen God's hand on everything and just how amazing it is. As long as we just have faith in God and march forward, it looks like something bad's happening to me or somebody, but as long as you're strong in that, that's an example to everybody else.
Yeah.
And it's a process. And so I've never fought evil because I hate them, though I do hate them. I can't help it. I'm not, I got problems.
Me too.
Fallen creature.
Me too.
But I've always done it because I love the innocent people they're attacking. That's the main reason I do it. I don't fight because I hate the bad guys. I fight because I love the people that I'm defending. But I really now actually feel sorry for the evildoers and the minions and their slaves because they really are pathetic. And it takes away a lot from them when you don't hate them anymore. It's like putting hot coals on them. And I'm not even enjoying that, but they know metaphysically when you're above what they're doing, and you still stand up to them, but you're not getting on their level.
That's right, because we have to pray to set the captives of Satan free, right? Set the captives
I agree.
free.
These are people that were not as blessed as us and got captured by it, and that's a loss to us.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, that's really sad.
It's a loss to humanity, and we need all our warriors now to fight against this beast. We have to take that beast down. And I think we will, and I think you will. And I think your next phase is going to be more fantastic than anything you've done before. I can feel it and sense it. And I'm so glad that you were on my show today and that I got to interview you and speak to you, because like I say, I know you have foresight, and it was wonderful to share this time with you, and thank you so much for letting us use your
thank
studio.
you. And I should have answered your question and answered your question earlier.
Yeah.
What we're going to do. They came in here over and over again. They never had a real court order. Now they've got one. They can be here as early as tomorrow. I mean, knowing them, though, they might come in a month now because, the last times, though, they were in here every time they could be. We've got a little studio back up, the Alex Jones Network at AJN Live on X. They try to take my X account. Elon blocked that. They still said they're going to sue and try that. If you're a new viewer, I know it doesn't sound real. Just type in Sandy Hook families want Alex Jones's, They said in a court filing they own my name. They said, well, the 13th Amendment against slavery doesn't apply to him, and his judgment's so big we own it. They're trying to take my name away.
Wow.
And I'm not like Prince that signed a deal with Sony or whatever to sell my name. My name's Alex Jones. My dad and mom gave me that in Dallas, Texas, in 1974. But I mean, and they think, well, he's so demonized, we can set the precedent with him. So we've got satellite uplinks. We'll be on all the same radio stations. But whether it's this week or next week or whenever it is, it's the end of the line. And so people can just find us and know that the bad guys don't want it on air. And they can find me at Real Alex Jones on X. We're going to announce, we're trying to build it right now with our sponsor because, they have to own it. I don't own any of the stuff because they can take anything I own.
Right.
So the sponsor's building some site. They got 4 or 5 names. I don't know what they've come up with exactly. I mean, because there's so much going on, we don't even really, I'd love to tell you, here's the new website. We've been so busy covering the news and fighting that we got a studio and we got some X accounts and we got uplinks to radio stations.
You're not going anywhere.
Yeah, it's just a word to the point of they have like 5, because like I said, I'm not the owner now.
Right.
So they're like batting around names and debating it, and they got some WordPress sites, and we're gonna get our writers that are here hired by them, and we're gonna have to get, the new owner, as soon as this happens, has got the insurance ready and the payroll, and there's this, all that stuff. That's what I just want to do right when I get off here, is just deal with all the mechanics of that. But I know this, we were gonna go 24 hours a day. That was always our goal, to cover news as it broke. We only got to like 10 hours a day live with our host, Harrison Smith, Owen Schroyer, and others, and Chase Geiser. Our goal with the new owners is, because they're already looking at places and about to sign a lease on a bigger place, our new studio is small. We want within 6 months, going towards the midterms the next year after that.
Yeah.
We want to go 24 hours a day.
Yeah, you
we
need
want to pick up all the podcasts and just run them and just amplify everybody. We want every few hours a live update news show. We'd love to carry everybody's show and just create a ton of synergy and finally complete that mission we had. So our greatest days are coming if that's part of God's plan. And I feel and know in discernment that my old mission has now been complete, to trigger the Great Awakening, working with others, but to be part of that, and now to go on the offense.
That's right. That's exactly right. That's what we feel too, right?
100%. We're doing something similar. We can't talk about it.
And
that's the plan.
I think a lot of people are getting it. A lot of people are putting it together, and it's the dawning of the age of Aquarius. It's a whole new world.
Well, that's right. They have their fake new age, but God's got his real age, and exactly that's what the globalists wanted. What they call the end of history, and people are waking up. We'll just collapse things, and that's no.
Yep.
No, but it's not going. Their old order is collapsing.
That's what's ending. When they say the end times, well, what that means is the end of that system of evil. That's bye-bye. It's over, and we're just seeing the dust come up.
Well, it's like the Mayan calendar, which
right, exactly.
It actually says it's the end of that era, and a new one doesn't mean the end of the world.
Right.
Yeah, it's the end of evil. The evil empires crash to the earth, and we're seeing the smoke. if you look at it, how Trump is collapsing the economic system and how that's affecting China, which is a huge win.
With the tariffs?
With the tariffs. And, it's stuff beyond people's ken yet. They haven't seen it yet. But, it's a beautiful new world. A beautiful new world, and we have the gold.
Absolutely. Are you still feeling the methylene blue?
Huh?
Are you still feeling the methylene blue?
I do.
Can I ask you one quick question? Forgive me first of all, thank you for letting us use this. It was awesome.
You bet.
You were talking.
We're still on air, though. I hope this goes on the podcast.
It's definitely going. Yeah, she's got to wrap up. You famously predicted 9/11. Everyone knows this. When you were talking about that download from God at that restaurant, that information, was that something you researched, or did that come from divinely?
Tucker Carlson's always asked me that. I told him privately I had dreams of 9/11 happening, and I just, for whatever reason, have never revealed that on his show, but I've kind of gone further here today.
Yeah.
Some stuff I've never said before.
That's
I told Tucker that privately. And also, when Tucker told me about his demonic attack, I literally, it doesn't happen actually that often. There's degrees of it. I was like, felt the spirit, and said, and I told him everything that happened to him before he told me. That's why he says I'm the most, that's what he says, because of this. You're the most amazing person he's ever met or whatever. I think the quote is something like that, extraordinary. And that was because, that wasn't me. I and I don't think of myself as like a channeler or something. It's only at certain points, like.
But it has happened.
Yeah, no, I mean, I told him, well, I was already a lot of stuff going on, a lot of things happening, but then I did have dreams of the burning World Trade Center.
Wow.
In early July, and I had it like 3-4 times.
Wow.
And I would have these dreams when I was younger, more often. I still have them, where you wake up and you're like all sweating and you're nauseous.
Mm-hmm.
And then like a week later, a month later, a year later, the exact thing happens. You even talk about it, you worry about it, and then it happens.
Yeah.
So it's like you've time traveled, you've folded space dimension.
Yep.
And so I had about 3 or 4 of those dreams where, you go to bed, you're totally healthy, I'd have a fever, and you just wake up all, and like a huge headache, and like, and I saw that happen. And so that was the last little impetus. And now God's told me, like a month before they tried to kill Trump, I came on air and went ahead and said it.
Yeah.
In like June, I said, listen, this usually happens a few times a year. It happened 4 times the last week. I don't know if you've heard the story.
Yeah.
But you have?
No,
I haven't.
But back then, now I have a little alarm clock, a little portable one, but I keep my cell phone, even I had an alarm clock, I usually wouldn't program it, like in the bathroom in another room. So it's my bedroom and then the closets and everything in the bathrooms in there. But I would be told, wake up and then go look at the clock. And it would always be the exact time. That's what happened since I was a kid.
Yeah.
But not.
What time?
It was different times.
Oh.
But the last time, 4 times in 1 week. Okay, I get up. I'm like, okay, go in the bathroom. Hurry up. Turn the phone on. It's going to say 4 a.m. Boot the phone. Boom, 4 a.m. Now, instantly, it's not like it's, like hear it, but you hear it.
Right.
Just in case you're doubting me, count down from 14. Do it right. 14, 13, 12. And right as it goes to 0, 4:01. And so I go get coffee. It's 3 a.m. Or 4 a.m. I'm not going back to sleep. I get a coffee. And I'm just like, God, just tell me what you want me to do. And God's like, I've been telling you, you need to listen to me. This is what's going to happen. These are the probable operations. You got to go do this. Because however it was going to work, do this. And it was like, they're going to have a reporter she doesn't know. There's going to be plastic explosives sewn into her purse. She won't know. You got to say that on air. And I'm like, this is going to sound crazy. Fine, I'll do it. Because, obviously, this is like the 4th time I won. It's exact. Okay. And then they're going to try to shoot him, and he's not do outdoor rallies. I went on the air the next day and told the story. And I'm not the guy that does this.
Yeah.
God's like, I am telling you, like, tap, 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 you're not listening. Because, I was still drinking some then, and not as much, and distracted, and had a lot of stuff going on. And God was literally like, hey. It's like that movie Interstellar where, he thinks it's a ghost telling about the future, but it's really him from the future, another dimension.
Mm-hmm.
Or, whatever this is, it's God.
Yeah.
God works through things. And I have picked up, like, whenever the big knowledge comes, there's like an angel there. It's like, are you God? It's like, I'm here from God, yeah. But it's like a presence is there.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing. And I went on air and I said, they're getting ready to kill Trump. And I said like 5 or 6 ways they're going to do it. Surface to air missile. They're going to sweep across Mexico, say Iran did it, set up Iran. months later they come out and say that.
We covered that, yeah.
I mean, I was like literally, this is on record before it happens.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there drinking coffee going, just take me over and tell me what to do. And it's like, I'm telling you, listen. And I had to like tune everything out and go, all right. And I sat there and wrote notes. All right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And then now I'm sitting there, because you got to be in that quiet place the Most High, King David talked about, to get the transmission, because there's so much going on in your temporal, mind. But I'm on election night. It's like 10 o'clock at night. We don't know if Trump's going to win, and we think he is. We don't know. They won't call these states. And Owen's in the other studio, and I'm sitting right there. And I'm sitting there, and I feel the presence like I felt with Tucker, to tell him everything that happened to him and totally freak him out, like down to word for word. And I'm sitting there, and I feel the, and it's like, say at 1:27, and I'm getting, I should have, like, what time zone? That's the part that I didn't get. Say at 1:27, Trump will declare victory. And I'm sitting there with guests in here, and he's in the other studio. I'm going, And so my temporal brain kicks in. How do I not sound crazy? I should have just gone with it. And I go, Owen, when do you predict he'll announce that he's won? And he goes, I think 11:37 or something like that. And I go, well, I think 1:27. And of course, it happened exactly as I said. But, and then I even told some of the crew, like during the break, I go, God just told me this. And then I forgot about it hours later. And then Wes, the oldest employee here, like 24 years, we're doing a break. We didn't know Trump was about to come out. And I'm in there eating pizza or something. And all of a sudden he goes, look, he comes running. He goes, look, he's coming on the stage. And it flips over to 1:27. Wow. And then he walks up and right in the last few seconds says, thank you, we've won. And it was, and like the crew's in there going, okay. But I mean, and I'm like, what is that? It's not like God wants people to know.
Yes.
But it's not me. I'm just a transceiver.
Right.
Well, I was going to say, well, you built a channel. Because you are a channel. That's what it is.
That's exact. God said, go build a media system so that I can have a show.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
That's what I felt like when I was 3, and the voice that I heard that was God, my safety place, goes, when you're going to have your own show, and it's going to be called The Roseanne Show, and you're going to teach a lot of stuff about love.
And I did. Now, with all that work, that was just building the platform for you now.
Yeah. That's what I think.
Yeah, because I always wanted to talk about the power of love in the human heart and mind, how transformative it is. Because God's intelligence works like a magnet, and we find each other. And, I'm praying that it'll speed up a little bit more, and we'll find each other more easily and more quickly, so we can fix what needs to be fixed, because we know how to do it.
Exactly. And our spirit gets it all, but we have to navigate through our body and our cerebral cortex.
That's right.
It's like our goggles, our camera. And
maybe this is part of it, huh?
Well, yeah, I mean, God gives us all these compounds. Look, it's super powerful. They say it's good for your mitochondria. I'm actually scared of it. It works so well. But I can see all the bad things I went through, and all that was just preparing me so that I could carry a bigger weight when it got to be time.
That's exactly right. Yeah, we go through the fire so that we're strong like steel. Yeah?
Yeah, they've come
That's
after
my
both
story,
of you.
too.
They've come after both of you. So we as Americans thank both of you, I just want to say.
Well, I thank you guys. Thank you, and I want to thank everybody. And I want to thank the crew, all the stuff they put up with over there.
Thank you guys. Thanks, everybody. It was wonderful to be here in your studio. And I want to come back in a month when you're still here.
Well, we've got the new studio. Oh. It's got a nice little pocket thing for broadcasting. It's got a nice podcast deal.
Is it close to here?
Yeah, it's only like 4 miles away.
Oh, good. Well, whatever is in store for you, I know it's going to be good. I know you're our leader. You always will be the leader of a couple generations, and I'm so proud to have had you on the show and fulfill this desire that both me and my son had.
Anytime. I mean, yeah, we're always busy. I mean, we've been just missing each other.
Yeah.
I know, but we're happy that
let's do it again.
I'd love it. I'd love it.
You got it.
We love you, Alex.
God bless you. Thank you.
God bless you.
Oh, you see.